Akundam Girivarmaho Radhikamadavasam Prapto Jasya Pratita Kripaya Sri Gurun Tanmatosmi Sri Guru Gaura Gandharva Govindam Gringanaisaha Bande Prasadato Yesham Savaram Basubankara Gauravag Vigraham Bande Gaurangam Gauravaibavam Gaura Sankirtano Matam Gaura Korunya Sundaram Guru Rupa Harim Gauram Radha Ruchi Ruchavritam Nityam Nomi Navadipe Nama Kirtananartanai Ananda Lilamaya Vigrahaya Himavadivyachta Visundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Hare Krishna. Yes,
Dandavad Maharaj. Today we have a question from Vinod Bandhu Prabhu, St. Petersburg, Russia. There is one verse in the 7th chapter of Sri Sri Prapan Jivanamritam, actually 6th verse, entitled in Sanskrit, Tad Yantram Evatmanam Anubhavati. And the verse itself, Yat Kritam Yat.
I can hear crosstalk from some speaker. You hear it?
Yeah, там что-то.
Okay. Yes, the verse.
Yat kritam yat karishyami tat sarvam nama yakritam tvayakritam tu phala bhuk tvam eva madhusudana. Sri Kulasekhar, and the translation, the title, The Dedicated Soul Perceives that he is merely an instrument in the hands of the Supreme Lord. And the translation for the shloka, O Madhusudan, whatever I have done and whatever I will do, nothing is my endeavor. It is all done by you, and you alone are the enjoyer of the fruit. End of quote. What is the meaning of the verse and what frame of mind it is expressing?
No, the title of the book is Prapanna Jivanamritam. And Guru Maharaj would say various ways, but life, nectar for the surrendered souls, or for the surrendered souls, this is life-giving nectar to them. So, what's implied is, as we are advised, Kanak Kamini Pratishta, Kanak, wealth, Lakshmi is for Narayan, Kamini for Krishna, Pratishta, name and fame to Guru, and Guru being the absolute descending in relative circumstance, means really Krishna, divine agency. So the surrendered soul doesn't feel that they are, that they shall get the credit for what they do. This is about credit. He's giving all the credit to the Supreme Lord. Implied is something good was done, because otherwise, if they were wrong things, he can be saying, it's not me who are doing them, but you. That's not what he's saying. It's something divine, devotional, meaningful, substantial. And he's saying, as devotees will always say, it is by your mercy that this is possible. And even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna telling Arjuna, Nimitta matram bhavasavya sachin. there's my divine will, Arjun, and you can be an instrument in the fulfillment of that. And Arjun will get the credit. But if we press Arjun, he will, he will attribute it all to Krishna's grace. And we see later when in the Bhagavatam, after the Battle of Kurukshetra, and it's in the early chapters when Arjun goes to visit with Yudhisthira, and Yudhisthira can see that Arjun is dejected. And so, saying, how has arguably the greatest warrior of all time, looking lifeless and weak before me, what is the cause of that? And he gives various reasons, the conclusion being that something he didn't want to face himself, that Krishna has withdrawn from this world and his divine pastimes. But it's mentioned there that, so the mighty Arjun was defeated by what, highway robbers, the equivalent of that. You know, he was unable to defeat them. And the point being that with Krishna, he was able to do so many extraordinary things. And without Krishna's backing, without Krishna's grace, he was powerless. Right? So that's always the feeling of the devotee, is like Guru Maharaj is saying, without the grace of Sri Guru, we are lifeless clay. Is there any other question?
Yes, we have a question from Sundar Gopal Prabhu, Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
He sent his question online. Dandavat Pranams Maharaj, what we must to think in time of death?
Also, when to say when at the Rath Yatra, when Swarup Damodar, it's a little distracting, the writing. Okay. And Rupa Goswami has written his parallel sloka. Mahaprabhu before Jagannath is singing this Yak Kumara Hara sloka, and about childhood sweethearts on the banks of a river under the moonlit night, how they met and their pastimes. But it's mysterious. It's a verse, Guru Maharaj said, that was used to teach Sanskrit alankaram, ornamentation and things like that. But sort of, how do you say, if not questionable or intimate. So Rupa Goswami writes a parallel sloka saying, who is that girl, who is that? The girl is Radharani, the boy is Krishna. The moonlit night, it's in Vrindavan, and the river, it's not the Reva, rather it is the Jamuna. He's giving all the parallels and really revealing what Mahaprabhu is thinking. Right? So it's not known to everyone. And when it comes to Mahaprabhu's attention, he's asking Swarup Damodar, how is it that Rupa knows these things? I mean, we know his default position is that he's omniscient, he knows it, but you can say under the influence of Yoga Maya, these pastimes are in play. So he's saying this Swarup Damodar, how does Rupa know this? and meaning like only you and I know the meaning of this. So how does he know? And Swarup Damodar says, it could only be known if he has your grace. So you must have given your grace to him and revealed the meaning to him in his heart. Otherwise, it's not possible. Right? So it's thematically always like this, that the devotees, the proper attitude of the devotee is saying, they do not have any independent wealth. I've had this discussion with various devotees who were not born in India, who were not born in Bengal or Gautamandal, the Dham, etc. And the tenor of the discussion was that those who were born there, are born there, they could think that they've got something. And they may in fact have something. But they could think, I was born here and raised in this culture, etc. And the point I was making to my friends is, we don't suffer from that delusion. Because we weren't born, we didn't spring out of the soil of Gautamandal, but from other places, to put it mildly. So I said, so for us, there should be no confusion that if we have anything of substance, it was a gift from our Guru Varga. Like with regard to one devotee, Gurudev said that, he was half made by his father before he came in connection with Chaitanya Saraswat Mat. Right? I'm saying, again, we don't suffer from that delusion, except perhaps some of the devotee children. Right? Whenever I say something like this, there's always someone whose parents are devotees and bring the whole thing in the question. But he can speak to that later. Even that is in the Gita. Suchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Brashta Sanjayate, where Arjun is discussing with Krishna basically saying, so if I pursue Krishna consciousness, what happens if I don't achieve it? I could have developed myself materially. Instead of doing that, I took my energy, my resources, and I invested them in the pursuit of Krishna consciousness, yet I didn't achieve that thing. So it would appear to me like I lost twice. Right? Or what is probably like a riven cloud with out of position in any sphere, or something like that. And that's when part of Krishna's answer, and as a particular note, the way Guru Maharaj would render it, was, where he says, Nahi kalyanakrit kaschid durgatam tatagachyati, which we could say, preface it by saying, basically, the kalyan means auspicious activities. He's saying, whatever you invest in Krishna consciousness is permanent. So we've heard this so many times, that 2%, 5%, etc. And that also allows for Gurudev, quoting the godbrother of Guru Maharaj, saying, when you're talking about Vaishnavism, is somebody 2%, 5%, 25%, 75%? And again, help comes from the Bhagavad. Nashta prayesha vadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. It's describing, in essence, a tipping point, saying before 100%, when it achieves a certain level, then the rest is very swift, right? Like a tipping point. That's what means nashta prayish abhadreshu. All the abhadras, inauspicious things, they haven't and then vanish completely. Right? So, nahi kalyana krit kashit durgatim tat. Durga means obstacles. Right? And we're told, what is it? Durgam patas tat kavayo vidanti. The Kovida, those in the know spiritually, they say the path is strewn with obstacles, so be careful. And what is it compared to? The razor's edge. And we know in shaving, the razor's edge means you become inattentive, you draw blood. You become impatient, you draw blood. It doesn't matter how many times you've shaved in the past, you can draw blood by becoming inattentive, patient, distracted. So they're saying the spiritual path is like that. However long you've been on it, if you become distracted, inattentive, impatient, you won't overcome the obstacles. And in that regard also, something Guru Maharaj said comes to mind, that was he's always hopeful or optimistic. Am I the only person who hears that?
Yes, we can hear it.
So you just need to turn it off. All right, then leave it. If it's, I don't understand, the camera's talking.
There is nothing else.
Okay, all right. We'll just let it go. Pretend it's a bumblebee chanting Hari Katha.
It's chanting whatever you are chanting. It is Hari Katha.
Yes. So, Guru Maharaj said, if you're going on a path, he was saying how you should view other devotees, right? Who, like Saraswati Thakur said, really, it's just...
Somehow it's an echo. When I was playing the mridanga,
Yeah.
it's very...
No, but it's like noise. It's electrical noise. It's not an echo. So, anyway, he said, so you see someone, they're going along the path, and then apparently they're regressing. Because Saraswati Thakur once, when it was brought to him, like they said, someone was no longer chanting. And he would say, oh, he's gotten so much service from his chanting that he has no time for chanting. You know, that way. So here Guru Maharaj said, so you see someone going along the path and then apparently they're regressing. He said, but the optimistic viewpoint of a devotee, of another aspiring servitor is, he said that they're retracing their steps and they're going to come with renewed enthusiasm, strength, and leap over that obstacle. That's an optimistic view. Right? So, and I believe Saraswati Thakur said in one place, you know, all others, his view was like, all others are serving Krishna, only I am unable to do so. That's the mood of the devotee. Right? So Krishna telling Arjuna the permanent nature of this accumulation. Right? But then the way Srila Guru Maharaj renders it, he's always extracting the essential meaning from there. He says, Nahi kalyanakrit kaschid durgatim tatagacchati. What does it mean? He said that sincerity is invincible. That's where he gets this from. Let's see, it says kalyanakrit kat durgatim. This is, you know, a Paramahansa Vaishnava. He's saying, what does this tell us? Sincerity is invincible. The sincere will be victorious. Remember, he's addressing Arjun's apprehension or hesitation. So he's saying, your concern is that you shall be sincere in your approach. Then success is guaranteed. Or Guru Maharaj would also extract from there, if I do not deceive me, then no one can deceive me. So he said, don't be suspicious of others. He said, but rather, self-analytical, not overly confident in your own judgment, etc. But if you go further in the verses, he says, Suchinam Srimatam Gehe, this verse. And he's saying, so what happens to someone if they don't achieve perfection in Krishna consciousness in a particular lifetime? And that's where he says that they will get an auspicious birth in a family of devotees. That would be the best. It says there, like yogis, but bhakti yogis, devotees, so that they'll get the opportunity to continue that culture from an early age. But that said, so when Achyutananda Maharaj accompanied Srila Guru Maharaj and Jajavar Maharaj, Babaji Maharaj to Hapania, Guru Maharaj's birthplace, after how many years? 20, 30, a long time. And Amar Babu, Guru Maharaj's next brother, what was his name? Amarendra, I think. Amarnath, something, and Amar Babu for short. There's Guru Maharaj is the eldest, his next brother. So everyone is astonished to see the young Achyutananda, right? I mean, you can imagine at that time in that village whether they'd seen a white person or not. What to speak of one dressed in Vaishnava dress, and tilak, and chanting slokas, singing songs. They were astonished and impressed. And at one point, Amar Babu said to Achyutananda, he said, we are from this soil. We are from here, and we don't have so much appreciation. And you're from, New York City, and you have this. He was just, happy and somewhat astonished. And Guru Maharaj and Gurudev, they were very happy to hear Achyutananda's response, because he quoted Mahaprabhu's teachings, the Rupa Goswami, saying, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasadi Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. Saying, Brahmanda Brahmite, wandering the length and breadth of the universe. He said, it doesn't matter. It is not a question of whether you're from New York or from here, but what is it? Bhagavanji. It is a question of good fortune. Right? Without the grace of Sri Guru, we are lifeless clay. And he's saying, that's what this is about. Do you have the good fortune to come in connection with substantial Vaishnavas? Right? Whereas Sangsaresman Kanardo Pi Sat Sangha Sevadirninam. In this world, Sangsaresman, in this world. Kanardo Pi means even, briefly, a moment, like Lavamatra Sadhu Sange Sarvasiddhi Hoy. Here it says, Satsanga Sevadirninam, the most valuable treasure that you can gain in human life is to get the association of Vaishnavas and substantial Vaishnavas. So coming in connection with them, and that means not just being in physical relativity, but sevan mukata, service. Service brings nearness, and gives meaning to all of these activities. So by associating with them means serving with them, serving them. Right? So on account of that, then, Tene Brahma Hrida, what is in their heart through service will be reflected in the heart of the servitor. And so it is an honest expression for the servitor, recognizing, in a sense, this newfound wealth that is beyond, how do you say, anything that was in their possession previously. It's obvious to them that this is some sort of a divine gift. Right? So then naturally they will praise the agent. We know when Mahaprabhu Nimai Pandit visits Murari Gupta, and just knocks on his door, he opens the door, and there's the Varaha avatar. Like, aren't you going to invite me in? Because Murari Gupta is astonished, and he comes in, and what do we tell him? There's a water pot in the corner, and he lifts it like the earth being lifted, and incidentally, they are mrid, they're made from clay, from earth. But at one point with Murari Gupta and the throes of astonishment, Nimai Pandit says to him, Murari, offer some prayers. What kind of a host are you? Offer some praise. The Varaha avatar is in your living room. And Murari Gupta starts saying, I'm incapable of praising you, of offering you suitable prayers. He's saying, only you are capable of offering yourself suitable praise. Only you have the capacity to do that. And as your expansion of Ananta Shesh, with your thousands of mouths, you've been singing that praise since time immemorial. How can a fallen soul like myself, it's beyond my constitutional capacity to offer you suitable praise. And if that Ananta, with his thousands of mouths, has been praising you since time immemorial and has not exhausted your glories, what can I say? But that is his prayer. That is such a beautiful prayer. And it contains so much Gaudiya Siddhanta, and it's thematically perfect. So his saying that I'm unable to properly praise you is wonderful praise. But he's already covered himself, because if you press, Murari, such a beautiful prayer. No, he's caused me to say that. Like Gurudev used to quote this one song, by a Bengali poet, not Ravi Tagore, someone else. And the person in the song, it's a man, he's praising the beauty of some girl he's fallen for, and he's saying that all these things that he's saying, that she's the cause of that. You understand? He's saying, your beauty is causing me to say all these things. Right? So if that can be true here, then it must be infinitely true there. But if someone thought on account of that, I remember this Mahayogi telling of some days of yore, and some devotee made some halava, and someone said to him, that was really nice halava, Prabhu, and he said, I'm not the doer. I don't get that same feeling from King Kulashekar. You know, he's not trying to draw attention to himself, or take, and it really, is it from the Mukundamala Stotram or Stotra? Huh?
Reference is not.
All right, but anyway, that's one of the things he's famous for. Right? Srila Prabhupada liked to quote those verses. What was that? Or is it the one? Krishna tadiya parapankaja panjarantam adyeva vishrutume manasa raja hangsa pranak prayama samaye kapabhatta pittai kantavaro danavido smaranam kutaste. He's saying that when the time of death comes, my lung, kapabhatta will be filled and choked up. I won't be able to take your holy name. So now, while I'm fit, let me use all my energy and, you know, singing your holy name and its glories. And Manasaraj Ahangsa means let the swan of my mind dive into the stem of your holy lotus feet. But even Sukadeva Goswami, when he's introducing himself, Parinirstitopi Nairgunye Uttamasloka Lilaya Grihita Cheta Rajarse Akyanam Yadaditavan. He's saying that Uttama Shloka Lila, by hearing these Uttama Shloka, remember Krishna's name is Uttama Shloka, they're not some separate thing. They are Krishna, aspects of Krishna. And so he's saying, when I heard particularly the pastimes of Sri Krishna, Radharani and Braja Gopis, he's saying, then I was carried away to a domain that I didn't know existed previously. And what does he mean by that? And Guru is saying why he selected to be the loudspeaker and the medium for the Bhagavatam as a Parinistitopi Nirgunye means I was situated in the Nirguna plane. So, but he's taken generally to be a Brahmavadi for the necessity of this pastime. Like, from that person they'll accept us. If he's already a hardcore Krishnite, you know, then of course he's going to say these things. Because we want to know, oh, why was Sukadeva? Why? Because it puts him, represents him as neutral in the sense of without bias. Right? So from that person who's legendary, right, that he's never been under the influence of the mundane, from the birth he's situated in the Nirguna plane. For him to say, and also who has this impeccable brahmacharya, as we're told, and remember, if he's going to sing these pastimes of Radha Krishna and Braja Gopis, then he must be 100% certified. Right? And that's why early on it's mentioned there, not just as an aside or anecdotally, but that when he's leaving Vedavyasa's ashram and Vedavyasa's following him, and we're told there are the Dibya Devis bathing in the pukur, the pond, and when Sukadeva goes by, they're naked and they don't bother to cover themselves. And when Vedavyas comes, they're covering themselves. And he notices that and is saying, why? And they're saying, in his eyes, we did not see, you know, a remote trace of the male gaze. Right? And then I was just thinking, lightly that, but for Veda Vyas, they're covering themselves. It's Leela. They don't mean to disparage Veda Vyas, but it's out of, so many of these things are out of necessity of the Leela, of the pastimes, right? But I was saying Veda Vyas could go, But so you think, oh, that's a nice story. It's no, it must be there. Remember, Veda Vyas put it there, and so that when Sukadev will speak of these things that are apparently, jugupsitam means condemnable, that you cannot dismiss this on account of who the agent is. Here's someone who has no interest, has no mundane erotic tendencies. Yet he's saying, when I heard about these divine loving pastimes, I was carried away to another world that I didn't know existed previously. Okay. So they cannot dismiss this on account of who the agent is. It's Sukadev Goswami. And later, Mahaprabhu. Why all these ostensibly Braja Gopis descend from Krishna Leela into Gaur Leela as Goswamians? Right? Mahaprabhu's associates, Rup, Sanatan, Srup Damodar, Ramananda Roy, to not even remotely allow the consideration that there's any sort of mundane eros involved in these pastimes, and neither in their culture. So Chaitanya, and again, so Mahaprabhu, who is, first of all, he's Krishna himself, enveloped in the heart and halo of Srimati Radharani, but he's also a perfect sannyasi. So Guru Maharaj said, people would say, why this sannyasi, his culture is about Radha and Krishna's pastimes. There are only one of two conclusions. One conclusion would be, it's inappropriate, or those pastimes are not what you think they are. Right? That you ask that question betrays your misconception about the divine nature of these pastimes and that world that we're told, Vaikuntya Prithivyadi Sakala Chinmoy. The soil, we're going to give the least aspect first and say, the soil is Chinmoy. Right? Toyam Amritam, the water flowing there is nectar. Right? What is that? Kalpa vriksha. The trees, kalpatru, are kalpa vriksha trees. The cows are kamadenu. You know. So, why did I mention that? See, now you have to use your memory. Yes, but there's a reason I mentioned that, the Bhagavatam. What were we discussing before that?
The spiritual path as a blade. That was way before.
Oh, well, I was saying that, no, it was on the theme of what the devotee, it's a peculiar thing, that what they Oh, I meant to say two things. That what they possess, they attribute to the grace of Sri Guru. And, it was on whether or not someone might think like they're denying themselves or erasing themselves. And that's why I've made this point before about the difference between self-oblivion and self-extinction or annihilation. Self-oblivion is different, and that has to do with love. To be so wholly absorbed in another that there's no room for ahankar, or false possessiveness, yet retaining your identity, not to just merge into someone and then they've vanished. So it means one in interest. But lest we think that then that means the agent selection could be random. Right? It could just be anyone. That's there actually in the so-called Patapradarsha Guru. Someone can be used. It seems everything I say, I will also contradict it and then support it later. So, because I have to think about it too. So someone can unknowingly have divine agency, and that's Patapradarsha Guru. That's possible. But it has to do with the qualification of the agent, that they become fit for this type of representation. As is the case with Sukadev and so many others. Ramananda Roy, right? That beautiful verse in the beginning, what does it say? Sancharja Rama Bida Bhakta Meghe Bhakti Siddhanta Chayamritani. It's very beautiful. And Ramananda Sambad, the first verse before the chapter, when giving you a hint or almost a summation of what is the follow. It says Bhakta Meghe means the devotee cloud, right? And it's saying the Bhakti Siddhanta Chayamritani. There's this nectarine ocean of Bhakti Siddhanta, and then the Bhakta Meghe, this cloud was generated by that ocean, and then what is it doing? It's raining back on the ocean. The ocean being Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So and it's genuine, when Mahaprabhu is praising Ramananda, it's also not perfunctory or just, being polite or cordial, that kind of thing. He's genuinely enlivened by what he's hearing and offering heartfelt praise. And what does Ramananda say? I'm just an instrument and you're playing me. So it's like the musician is praising his instrument, right? That such beautiful sound is coming out. But again, we see even in this world, musicians sometimes praise their instrument. Because they're causing it, but they're also appreciating the beauty of the sound that's being made. Both things are possible. So when Mahaprabhu is praising him like that, it means, what does he say later when he told Pradyumna Misra, why should hear Harikatha from Ramananda? Right, when he said, I myself, Krishna Katha, Amijanina, I don't know any Krishna Katha. Krishna is saying that. How could we, draw a box around it, or, and say, here is Krishna himself. That's a peculiar thing. He's saying he doesn't know Krishna Katha. What could that possibly mean? Right? And you just said these other devotees say only he's capable of praising himself. This is so confusing. But it's not. What he's saying is, you have to hear this from a devotee. I heard from a devotee. I'm Krishna himself, you know, if you read the fine print. But I heard from Ramananda. And what does he tell him? There's Ek Ramananda. There aren't two, there's not a group, there's one. And that, what does that mean? Quality. As Guru Maharaj says, quality gives us relief from mathematics. He's saying, when I say there's one Ramananda, that means a particular quality of representation. And what did he said, you should hear from him. And then Pradyumna Mishra, wisely, when he goes to Ramananda, and Ramananda says, what type of Krishna Katha you'd like to hear? And he's saying, what you told Mahaprabhu on the banks of the Godavari River. That's a good ask. And what does Guru Maharaj say later? Everything, his whole ontological system, he extracts from Ramananda Sambad. And when I said, because Madhusudan Maharaj knows, Guru Maharaj would have the paper read to him and had the little transistor radio for the news. And with his glasses, sometimes he'd go like this and then put them back on and he'd say, no difference. You know, it was this prescription probably from the 1940s, you know. And if we showed Guru Maharaj things, he had this like Sherlock Holmes magnifying glass. Because I remember when I was presenting Sri Guru and His Grace, and he's looking at the cover, and I'm on the other side. So it meant when Guru Maharaj is going like this, he is like going like that from my vision. And I remember when he sees the cover and he goes, picture of myself. I said, Maharaj, I know, I just had to do it. But he said, picture of myself. But anyway, why did I say that? Because, so I asked Gurudev, I thought, you know, Guru Maharaj, it's like this ocean of Bhakti Siddhanta is streaming out of him, and I've never seen him read a book, you know, in my time. And so I was just wondering if he ever read any books anymore. There's one famous literary scholar who, praising one of the original literary scholars, said his level of reading, he achieved the level where he no longer needed to read anymore. He meant that like as a very high compliment, like he had got from that what could be got, like not necessary for, I mean, it's a super high compliment. And I thought, Guru Maharaj, he's like that. And Prabhupada used to say that too, when such a person, what they speak becomes books. And we see that. What Guru Maharaj spoke manifested as books. Still, you know, sometimes we're asking questions to Gurudev just to learn little things about Guru Maharaj. So I said, does he ever read anything? And Gurudev immediately, he said, no. And then he went, oh, one thing, Ramananda, the Ramananda Sambad. He said, periodically, Guru Maharaj will call me in and have him read certain sections. Because Guru Maharaj, it's in him, but he might want to go over some particular section. But that Ramananda Sambad, Ramananda saying, you caused me to say all these things. Yeah. So it's not just the like the lower level devotees, but the highest level devotees. And we take it that Mahaprabhu himself is echoing, mirroring the sentiments that are in the heart of Srimati Radharani, things that she has expressed. Right? But As Guru Maharaj told, when Sukadeva speaking, in the audience is his Guru and Param Guru, Vedavyas, Narada, and so many others. And Guru Maharaj said, remember, he's 16, he's their Shisha, right? And they're in the audience, and he said, with great anticipation, he said, they're thinking, what we gave him, it's going to come out with some new color. And we're very eager to hear that. Hare Krishna. Is there anything else that should be said, Maharaj?
Is there anything else for us to hear, Mama?
I mean, some... But I mentioned the spiritual world for a reason. Oh, I say not having a proper estimation. If the soil is Chenmoy, then what to speak of the activities that take place there and the divine souls who traverse that soil. And if you read the Goloka Mahatmyam section of the Brihad Bhagavatamritam, it is like a sort of like an ontological crescendo that talks about the soil, and then like Das Goswami saying Yat Kinchit Trigomaki Kata Mukam Goshte Samastamitat Sarvananda Maya Lilanu Mukunda Doita Lilanukulam, yeah. Where he's saying even the insects are Mukunda Doita, dear to Mukunda, because they're contributing. Like we said, the bumblebee earlier, singing the Harikatha. So it goes to the soil, to the insect, to the trees. It's this gradation. And then once again, just like part one concluded with Uddhava. So here, as it builds higher and higher and higher, and then through the different rasas, then long at last, once again, asamaho charanenu jishamahangshang, vrindavanekam apigoma latosadinam. The Uddhava expressing his aspiration for an atomic presence in the soil of Vrindavan to be the beneficiary of some of the dust from the gopis' lotus feet. And Srila Prabhupada, he spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. We're all here because he heard Vilasatu Hriddhi Nityam Bhakti Siddhantavani, the voice of Saraswati Thakur in his heart, saying to preach in the Western world, and all the subsequent things that happened from that. But if you praised him, saying, you fulfilled, Mahaprabhu's prediction, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's prediction, and the order of Srila Saraswati Thakur and all, and he would just defer everything to his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And just saying, I'm blindly following his order. He gave this order, I blindly follow that, I don't know what the results are. So whenever and I mentioned this before, Brihad Bhagavatamritam is just one devotee praising, Narada praising a particular devotee, they're deflecting and deferring that praise to someone they consider superior to themselves and more qualified. Then following their lead, he goes there, praises them, they deflect and defer higher, and it keeps going and going. until at last we've achieved the holy lotus feet of Srimati Radharani and the Braja Gopis. And what will Radharani say? You know, that like, everyone says, the supreme devotee of Krishna, and she said, but I'm sad to say the truth, I couldn't fully give myself to him. On the devotee side, they're always feeling inadequate, that they have not fully given themselves to Krishna. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Guru said, when he was leaving the world, just like we told the other day, he gave us the books, revealed the Dham, the holy name, Radha Dasyam, gave Saraswati Thakur everything imaginable. And Guru said, in his final days, he was wailing, crying, saying, I could not serve you, my Lord. Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I could not serve you. And then if you ask Krishna, he will say, it's all the devotees. They cause me to behave as I do. It's on account of their love and affection. He's Bhakta Vatsala. Ahang Bhakta Paradino Hyaspan Tantra Eva Dvija. In their presence, I lose my independence. And I'm besides myself. Krishna's besides himself in the presence of devotion. Sri Krishna Karshini Chasa. So it's what do you call it? A mutual, appreciation? There's some expression.
Adoration.
Mutual adoration of Krishna and the devotees. But they have achieved that position on account of having no separate interest. We've achieved our position on account of having separate interest, just to make a point. The reversal is to transition from separate interest to no separate interest. And that we're told the most astonishing thing, Sri Krishna Karshini Chasa, when someone has no separate interest, the infinite comes under their control. That's called devotion, prema bhakti. That the infinite comes under the control of the finite, so to speak. And so Guru said, then who can be entrusted with that sort of power? But someone whose interest, there's no separate interest. They're one and the same. That's another meaning of heart to heart. Hare Krishna. Hari Haraya Namo Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Hari Haraya Namo Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan. Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan. Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan. Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra. Garadhara Sri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Garadhara Sri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghuna. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghuna. Sri Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath.
Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath.
Echai Gochai Kori Charana Bandhan.
Echai Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan.
Jaha hoite Vignanas Abhishta Puran.
Jaha hoite Vignanas Abhishta Puran.
Echai Gochai Jar Mui Taro Das.
Echai Gosai Jar Mui Taro Das.
Tansabara Padarenu Mora Panchagras.
Sansavara Padarenu Mora Panchagras.
Tandera Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanevas.
Hare Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanevas.
Janame More Abhilas.
Janame More Abhilas.
Echai Gochai Jabe Braje Koilovas.
Echai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilovas.
Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korilo Prakash.
Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash.
Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan.
Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan.
Sri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majayaman.
Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majayaman.
Sri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas.
Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas.
Harinam Sankirtan Kohe Narottama Das.
Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Narottama Das.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Nitai Gaur Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Gaur Hari Bo.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Nitai Gaur Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Gaur Hari Bo.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Jai Om Vishnuvad Paramahansa Paribhajaka Satara Sata Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnuvad Srila Bhakti Rakhak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Saparikhar Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Govinda Sundar Jiu Ki Jai. Shri Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai. Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Sri Rup Sanatan Bhattu Raghunath Sri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Sri Swarup Ramananda Ki Jai. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Go Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Sri Gupta Govardhan Ki Jai. Ganga Devi Jamuna Devi Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Om Vishnupad Vishvavarenya Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Madhacharya Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Vimala Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Sri Bhakti Lalita Devi Dasi Ki Jai. Seva Vrinda Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Go Premanande.
Jai Shri Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari.
And Maharaj
Yeah.
Dandavas from Anandamayi Didi, Portugal, Leelamayi Tomsk, Leela Sundari, Australia, Dhananjaya Prabhu, Russia, Muktinath Prabhu,
Leelamoy and Tomsk.
Leelamoy
Yeah.
Tomsk,
Yeah.
Nadia Barandich, Kiev, Rasananda Prabhu, Sochi, Vijay Krishna Prabhu, London, Anjali Didi, Vinitsa, Harivalabha Didi, Suchitra Didi, Dhananjaya Prabhu, Rome, Shama Bhuti Prabhu, Rai Kishori Didi, Madhva Priya Didi, Gora Shakti Prabhu, Australia, Eram A, Birachandra Prabhu, Rupa Vilas Prabhu, Philippines, and Madhava Priya Didi. Dandavat pranams, Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj, Bhakti Lalita Didi, and all the viewers.
And Madhusudan.
And Maharaj. Kshama Buddhi Prabhu turned 67 this month.
Hare Krishna. The eternally youthful Samabhuti Prabhu. Hare Krishna. We celebrate his appearance in this world and his seva in our mat. His appearance in our mat. Vanchakabhatrivasya kripa sindhuveva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. Devendra.